What's up, guys? My name is Damian, founder of Billet Proof Designs. We're here with another episode of Billet Proof Bikes, and I have a great story behind this BMW. So about 9 years ago, I walked into a buddy of mine's shop and this bike was sitting there. He was doing some service work on it. A local tree guy owned the bike, and I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. I'd always wanted a BMW, and I'm a little bit partial to the older vintage bikes. And I had asked my pal, I said, when you talk to this guy when he comes to pick up his bike, I said, please ask him if he has any interest in selling it. Well, it turns out he did. Put me in touch with him, and I bought the bike. So when I got it, it was a bone stock R60/6, 1975. The only thing that he had done to it was he had this tail section on it, cafe racer tail section with a cheapy vinyl seat, and he had Mikuni round slide carburetors. I believe they were VM42s. So the bike didn't run too good with the Mikunis, which is why it's got the Bings on it now. But once I got the bike, I rode it for a season, and I had big plans for it over the winter. I wanted to do a proper cafe job on it. I had my sights on a GSXR 750 front end that I wanted to put on it. So winter came and bike came apart. First thing I had done was build a subframe for this tail section, build a proper subframe. Has sheet metal on the inside, so I can put some stuff in here. And in doing so, I relocated the upper shock mount to lower the back just a little bit. Once that was done, and after a little bit of research, I did choose the GSXR 750 front end because of the overall length. The overall length of the GSXR 750 is really close to the stock R60 front end. So it was a really simple swap. I took the front end apart, I pressed the steering stem out of it, and I turned the steering stem down to fit the stock R60 headset bearings. Nowadays you can contact All Balls and get bearings for any conversion, but that's how I did it. And it was a pretty simple installation. And with the front end, fortunately, I was able to get both rotors, both calipers, clip-ons, controls, switch housings, wheel and tire. So it was a complete front end from triple clamps all the way down to the axle, wheel and tire. So it made things really simple. And one of my goals in putting that Suzuki front end on was to be able to get the Suzuki switches and controls, electronic controls, to work with the BMW controls. And after a lot of time from my father mainly, we ended up getting it all done, and it worked great. So I rode the bike for a couple years, and it was time to sell it. I decided I wanted to get married and wanted to propose to my wife, and I couldn't afford a ring without getting rid of a toy, and this was the toy that had to go. So ended up selling it through Craigslist to a cat up in Westchester, New York. He gave me full asking price plus a small delivery fee to bring it up to him. So my wife and I drove it up and reluctantly turned it over. And when I sold it to him, I was pretty explicit. I said, I'm only selling this thing for one reason. I absolutely love it, but I need money to propose to my wife. I said, if you ever want to get rid of it, need money, any reason, I said, please give me first shot, and I'd like to buy it back if I can afford it. So fast forward to summer of 2017, and I get an email from this guy that said he was ready to get rid of it. He really didn't ride it. He had done some work to it, but he didn't ride it enough, and it just sat in his garage. So he knew I wanted it, and he called me up. After a couple weeks of going back and forth, we came to a deal, and the deal was the same price that I bought it from him, or I sold it to him for. So I was obviously pretty happy about that. And he'd even done some work. He put this front fairing on it. He had put an Acewell all-in-one gauge cluster, which is really nice, digital gauge cluster. He had put some really nice ASV levers on it. He had put rear sets on it, which I didn't really like, so Once I got the bike, I removed those. But he did put some money into it. So I got it back, put new tires on it because the tires were the same ones I sold it to him with 8 years ago, so they were dry rotted. Went through the whole bike, cleaned it all up, made sure everything was good, put new rear shoes on it, and I've been riding it 2018 season, and the thing's been great. I swear by these bikes. They got super strong bottom ends. They don't make tons of power, but they're dead nuts reliable. The clutches are like a car style clutch with a pressure plate and a pressure plate flywheel and a disc. So they're near indestructible. It's just been a great all around bike, and I'm really thankful and blessed that I was able to get it back because I hated to sell it. Enough about the bike. You know the story now. Let's get it outside and we'll fire it up because I'm sure you want to hear it run.